Shall we begin? Let's begin now.
All right, everybody, welcome back to a brand new episode of the Frankly Francisco podcast. As of today, September 16th, 2022, it is officially my 43rd name day. It is my birthday. And as I reflect on 43 years on this earth, every day I'm grateful for. There are times where in my life I've struggled, with depression and not wanting to be around because I felt like I didn't have a purpose. I felt like no one would mind if I was gone. And I learned that not to be true whatsoever. But the older that I've gotten and the world that I live in and seeing the changes for good and for bad is truly amazing. I grew up in an era where there was no internet. There was no, applications. There was no Twitter. There was no Facebook. And then slowly got into the era where the technology started building. I was in the era when dial-up first happened. I was in the era when, house phones turned to cell phones. So I bridged the gap between two different eras, when the 90s, when everything started coming up. And just like everybody else, I had to adjust. And sometimes it's hard to let go of the old stuff because you're so used to doing it for so long. But you have to adjust. It's like anything else. If you don't adjust, you get left behind. And when it comes to, the podcast stuff, it's ever evolving. And, sometimes I feel kind of burned out doing this. I've been doing it for almost 2 years now. And you want to see progression and you want to see, your numbers go up. You want to see more downloads, but sometimes it doesn't work that way. The algorithms and everything else. And I know you have to spend money to make money, but sometimes it's ridiculous what, some companies want to charge you to, promote your stuff. And I understand that. I get it. Sometimes it's hard and sometimes you need a little help, but, sometimes the fees outweigh anything that you can do monetarily. So it makes things difficult. But I'm grateful for the opportunities that I've gotten. And I'm still going to grind it out. I'm still going to be here talking. I'm still going to be here, putting content out, having conversations with folks any chance I get, because this is what I love to do. 43 years, man. It's amazing. Almost passed a couple times and, not, faults of my own. I had, COVID and a couple other health issues that, scared the living ish out of me, thinking that I wasn't going to be around, to see my kids get older. And it's truly amazing how fast time goes when you just looking at pictures from yesteryear and you see yourself how small you were, or, how skinny you were. And it's just amazing. It's amazing. And you need to cherish every day that you're on this earth because it's finite. You're not going to be here forever. And I think some people live like they're not going to be here forever and they burn out a little bit too quickly. It's good to enjoy life, all the fruits that it has to offer. But at the same time, man, some of those fruits can be poisonous. Some of those things that you indulge in can kill you. It can kill you fast or it can kill you slow. You want to enjoy life, but you want to enjoy life where it stretches for as long as it can stretch. I want to be that old man. You know what I mean? I want to be 80, 90 years old, sitting with my grandkids and my great grandkids. I want to make it to that age. And I think sometimes we forget that people die on this planet every day, every second, literally every second. It's amazing that I've made it this far with all the stuff that I've been through growing up and all the things that I've been through in my life that could have went left. And it didn't because I chose for it not to go that way. So today's a good day for me. I made it another year. It's a blessing. And sometimes I act like it's not because like everything else, we all have problems. We all have things that we have to work on our own minds and people are not going to always be there to help. We have to figure out those situations for ourselves and figure how to work that stuff out in our own heads. And sometimes it can be hard. It can be hard to do that because we have so much going on. We're trying to balance life, work. We're trying to balance time for us to just relax and sit back and, reflect on life in general. Everything in life is not going to be what we want it to be, but we have to be grateful for the moments that we have. And these are one of the moments that I'm grateful to have. Anytime I can reach a new year, my new birth year, it's fantastic. It's fantastic because I'm grateful for everything. Grateful for my wife, my kids, grateful for the life that I have right now. And I'm always striving for more. But sometimes you do get fatigued. You do get tired. Your body starts to hurt. It ain't easy getting older. I can tell you that right now. It ain't easy getting older. Your body hurts more every day. Sometimes you can't jump out of bed like you used to. Sometimes you got to roll out because your back is stiff or your feet are hurting you. Uh, but once that body starts moving and you start getting warmed up, man, you can get going and doing the things you need to do um, to enjoy life. So today's very special for me because, every year that I live, my dad passed when I was 11. So, every year that I'm here, I'm outliving, my father, his age that he ever got to. And I get to see my kids grow. And that's one of the best parts about this. I get to see my kids grow, and I want to see my kids do something with themselves when they get older. I want to be that old man. I want them to call me old man when I get to a certain age, because to me, that tells me that I've been around long enough to make sure that they've grown into people that I think they can be. I can't force it on them. They have to choose who they want to be, which is anything a parent wants is for their kids to have a good life when they get older. And I want my kids to outlive me. That's the goal. You never want to go before your kids. You never want to go before your kids, because along the way that means something went wrong. As far as the podcast thing, I was thinking about stepping away for a while, and then it dawned on me that I can't do that. And the reason I can't do that is because I have a core audience now. I have people who listen. Um, it may not be in the thousands, but the people that do listen, I appreciate you guys because you guys want to listen. You guys enjoy the content that I put out. You guys enjoy listening to what I have to say. Sometimes it may be a good show, sometimes it may not be, but you listen. And that's the point. I think that's what any podcaster wants. Every podcaster wants somebody to listen to what they have to say. I've been doing less interviews lately. I've been doing more solo podcasts because I've been getting kind of burned out a little bit on the interview part, because it just seems like sometimes it seems like I'm doing all the work of promoting when I do an interview. There's been a few a few interviews that I did that the interviewee did everything they did to promote the podcast, and that those episodes are some of my highest ranked episodes. When the person I'm interviewing actually takes the time and the effort to promote the particular show. So shout out to you few who have actually gone out there and promoted the show, and not just me, and making things a little easier when it comes to those episodes growing and those episodes out there doing what they need to do. Um, I was gonna step away, and then it's hard to, because I enjoy doing this, but you can get burned out doing this stuff. So I figure if I just do my solo podcast for a little while, reset my mentality when it comes to doing interviews again and getting back out there with those interviews, then I think it's going to be an even flow. So from this point, more than anything else, you're going to see an even balance for me between interviews and solo podcasts. I was never comfortable doing solo podcasts for the longest time. For the first year, I didn't like doing solo podcasts. It wasn't my thing. I didn't feel comfortable doing that because I didn't like talking to myself. But I think this way is a little bit more intimate. When you are on the mic by yourself and you're having a conversation with somebody, you can express how you really feel. People get to know you internally. You can put your thoughts out there, and people can judge however they want to judge. But I think me finding a balance between interviewing and solo podcasting is going to be the right thing for me to do from this point on, instead of just trying to do an interview every week. I think sometimes it's good. It's lethargic just to be able to just put something out there with yourself, so your listeners can truly get a gauge of who you are as a person and what you do. I'm not always the good guy. Sometimes I can be stubborn. I can be hard headed. Sometimes my points are going to agitate people. I get that. But we all have a voice. And I think this is a good outlet for people to have their voice put out there. It's going to be hard to break into the top 100 podcasters. It's just is, because I don't have the money that's necessary to promote myself the way I need to promote myself. It costs. The way things are set up now, the algorithms, you have to pay to play. And I just don't have the funds for that. The only thing I can do is continue to put out content, and hopefully somebody listens that needs to listen, that can, be a sponsor, or, that it likes what I have to do, that I likes what I do and wants to help. Um, so it's difficult. It's difficult sometimes when you don't see the progression, but I think that's why a lot of podcasters fade away, because they just stop putting in effort. They just stop because they don't see progression. But I see a progression from where I started to where I'm now. Big difference. Big difference. It's just trying to grow the podcast the way it needs to grow. It's been difficult because it takes money. When you're married, you have 5 children, you have house, you have car payments, you have insurance to pay. It makes things difficult to have extra cash to invest in this particular venture that I'm doing. But I enjoy it, and I'll keep enjoying it. I'll keep trying to put out 52 episodes a year. I give credit to guys who can do it multiple. I can't. I just don't have the time and the effort. I can't put out 6 TikTok videos a day. I don't have the time or the energy for that. It's amazing that people can do that. I can't. But what I will try to do is I will try to continue to put out content that's relevant to you guys, that will, keep you guys intrigued. There's some stuff that I want to try out on the podcast. I have some stories that I'm working on. I'll do a scripted series where, I'm writing something and I'll read it to you folks, and we'll do it in sections, like part 1, part 2. And it'll be a scripted, like a month. I'll say this month here is just going to be a scripted show where I'm reading you guys a story that I wrote, to see what you guys think, engage if I should turn it into a full-fledged book or a comic, or, something like that as well. Just enjoy bringing and doing new things. You can't be stagnant in this business, because if you're stagnant, you're not trying new things, then, people get tired. But people like consistency as well. If you're consistent and you're constantly putting out what you need to put out, and you stay consistent with that, your audience will grow to new heights. And eventually I will have to start putting money into this for advertising. That's just part of the game. It's like payola back in the 50s. You have to pay to get on certain shows now. You have to pay to play for the algorithm on TikTok, Facebook, all these sites now. Nothing is free. Nothing is free anymore. And there's little tricks of the trade that you have to learn in order to keep yourself out in the public, and continue to grow, continue to grow your voice, to enjoy it. So just reflecting today, when you turn, the older you get, man, 43 it's amazing that I'm at this age, because I never thought I was going to live to be 21. To be honest with you, never thought I was going to make it to be 21. The environments that we grow up in can affect us tremendously, but I don't blame where I grew up. I don't blame it one bit. I grew up in New York City, and I also grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. Those are both my hometowns. Those are always going to be both my hometowns. You never get that out of your blood, especially when you grew up in those areas. I went from the projects, okay, went from seeing projects buildings, where a lot of my family lived in, to living in a house, but still in the hood. Like, we just went from project buildings to the neighborhoods where it was ghetto as hell. But that's where I grew up for 20 years. You know what I mean? That's where you learn. You got a street education, and then it took me a while to get from being street smart to book smart, and learning and turning my life around to where it is now, and working as hard as I did. Because listen, like everybody else, I had that mentality like, man, I can get fast money and be done. You know what I mean? But it don't work that way. You got too many people that will try to, take what you have. They don't want to eat at the table with you. They just want to take the whole table. So you learn how to adjust, and you learn how to change your life. When my son was born, that's when I decided to take myself back to school. And when I took myself back to school, that's when I, got my education in private security. And I was good at it. I did that for 12 years. I enjoyed doing that job. But at the end of the day, as the family grew, security wasn't cutting it anymore. So I had to move on to the next thing. And that's when I got into finance and got my opportunity, and, just still trying to grind that out. But I waited too long for that. And that's the thing that people don't understand sometimes is it's never too late to change who you are. This is 100% accurate. And sometimes we have to learn those hard lessons. And believe me when I tell you they're hard lessons. I don't want that future for my kids. And, just had a conversation with my oldest son yesterday. And I told him, I was like, listen, you only have 2 years left of high school. Okay. 2 years left of high school. It's going to go by fast. I'm not forcing him. I'm not forcing my views on him. When he was younger, I did, because I was like, that's what a parent should do. But then when I learned, the older I got, I was like, we can't force our views on our kids. We can educate our kids. We can let them know what we went through, but we can't force our views on our kids. The one thing I did tell him is don't do this for me. Don't get your high school diploma for me. Get it for yourself, because you're going to need it to get work. If you don't want to go to college, that's fine. You can go to secondary school. You can learn a trade. And trades are paying people $50, $40 an hour, because a lot of these older folks are retiring and nobody wants to do those jobs anymore, those physical labor jobs. And I told my son, if you don't want to do a physical labor job, get into technology. Do something that's going to benefit you down the road. Don't do it for me. You need to do it for yourself, because at the end of the day, when you're grown, you have to make the decisions that's going to bring value to you, not to me. And he understood what I was saying. It's not me forcing anything on him. I just want him to make sure that he understands that at least get that high school diploma, because half the stuff you learn in high school, you don't even use in real life. Who uses trigonometry? And unless you're a rocket scientist, unless you're an architect, unless you're doing things that require you to learn that kind of math, you're learning stuff you're not going to use. Most people use basic math their entire life. You know what I mean? It's amazing. Even in college, you have major subjects that you're supposed to take. Like my wife, she's doing her degree in computer science. She has a bunch of electives that have nothing to do with what she's doing. Nothing. But those are fillers. But those are how colleges make money off of you, because they make you take unnecessary courses as part of your curriculum to earn your degree, which is crazy to me. Instead of focusing on what's at hand and what she needs to learn for the profession that she's going into, they make you do other things that you don't want to do. And they want to say that it's they want to give you an overall experience to learn different things. But if you're going to school for a specific subject, focus on that subject. Let them be proficient at that subject, so when they get done with their degree, guess what? They have the experience necessary. But everybody does their thing differently. For me, I'm just grateful that I made another year. I'm happy that folks are still tuning in, looking at the videos. It's been a tough go last couple months for me, trying to understand where I am in my lot in life. Everybody, the one thing that I dislike, I wouldn't say hate, because it's not about hate. The one thing I dislike most sometimes is when people say you should know where your station in life is. What? Are you kidding me? What station in life? Just because someone is it's making more money than me, that means I can't try to achieve what that person above me is making. I should be happy where I am in life. That's ridiculous. Those are elitist. Those are people who feel like, oh, you should be happy about what you're making. You shouldn't worry about making more money. Why? Because you don't want me on that same level as you. You don't want to share that spotlight. That's what that comes down to. Okay. And to me, that's nonsense. Know your station in life. What? And people really think like this. Like, people think this is, the Renaissance days, learn your position, learn where you need to be. That's ridiculous. If that was the case, you wouldn't have multi-billionaires the way you have them now. The reason you have millionaires and billionaires the way you do is because they didn't settle for their station and their lot in life. They went out there and got it. The problem is, now that they're in that position, they don't want to lose that power, and they don't want to lose that grip. Anybody, let me say this again, anybody can move up in their life if they choose to. There's no such thing as you knowing your place in this world. There's no you knowing where your station is and you staying there. I'm 43 and I'm still grinding to get up further. There's no such thing as stopping what you're doing. Don't let anybody tell you different. Anybody tell you different, because if that was the case, I'd have never turned my life around. I'd have never gotten in positions that I've gotten into, because I could have easily stayed doing what I was doing in security. And that could have been my whole career, but I didn't want that. That's not what I wanted. My ambitions were further than that. And being on this earth for 43 years officially today, I think I've made all the right choices when it comes to that. My lot in life is not going to be what it is. It's not. It's never going to be what it is. I'm always going to strive for more. And the older I get, the more determined I'm going to get. By the time I'm 50, I have a certain goal that I want to attain. By the time I'm 50. And don't get it twisted. 50 is the new 30s, the new 40s. People out here in their 50s, they getting bank. They getting money. The older generation now, which is, they're getting hitting into their 50s. Now it's time. They're time to make money. It's time to make money. You know what I mean? We have to get out there and we have to continue to grind. Now, there's a difference between when I mean grind and you grinding yourself into dust. Like, there's a difference. When my definition of grind is just continue to move up. I'm not talking about putting 50 hours, 60 hours into an office gig. That's not what I'm doing. Know your worth. Because a lot of these places, you dedicate your life to these places and there's no reward at the end. You know, you got new people coming in constantly getting more money than what you're getting in the same position because the economy's changed and the things have changed. So know your worth. But I'm happy and I'm glad I've gotten to make it this far in my life. Hitting 43 is a milestone for me. I'm going to enjoy my weekend and go out and, just enjoy myself. Sometimes I put more pressure on myself than I have to. But then on days like this where I can sit back and go, man, I've made it this far. You've made it another year. You're alive. You're healthy, and it's a great day. It's a great day. No matter how everything else around me is right now, even if it's some stuff bad and it's just a great day for me. And I'm truly grateful to be here. And I want to thank everybody who's sending birthday wishes to me as we speak. It means a great deal because, I understand that a lot of people only remember because Facebook remembers, because Facebook has the birthday, birthday notification for everybody. But it's still nice that people still over the years still say happy birthday. It's a good feeling and I'm grateful for it. And I thank everybody. And I want everybody to know that I'm not going to quit this. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm going to be a little bit more ambitious when it comes to trying to get interviews and try to, go above my station, as they say. When I try to interview certain people that people think it's hard to interview, but I'm gonna shoot for the stars and try to bring you folks some interviews that I think you guys would love and some people that I didn't think I'd be able to talk to. But we'll work it. We'll work it and we'll continue to grind out and do the things we needed to do. But I thank everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I will enjoy my birthday. I'm happy that I'm here. And remember, folks, if you found your purpose, live it. Have a good day. Talk to you guys later.